Good afternoon. It is Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. Today was our monthly food distribution. Yesterday morning we had 9 volunteers go up and pack boxes, and today we had 7 volunteers helping us distribute them. We packed and distributed 72 boxes of food and distributed 90 boxes of zucchini squash as well. We helped an estimated 43 families, representing an estimated 165 people. It was a good day, and we appreciate our partners, Caring Ministries and Iglesia Bautista Cristo Bien, for helping us with this food distribution. Have you ever failed at a task? Have you ever felt like a failure? There are times we have such high expectations of ourselves, and sometimes our inability to fulfill those expectations leads to a sense of failure and regret. The 9 disciples that did not go up on the Mount of Transfiguration felt like failure. Indeed, they had failed. Their father had brought the demon-possessed boy to them, and they'd been powerless to help him. In fact, they were getting some grief from the crowd because they couldn't take care of this issue. And this little boy was still struggling and still in the control of this demon. Then Jesus and the 3 came back down from the mountain. And Jesus dealt with the demon and released the boy. And the disciples are sitting there watching, and they can't wait until they get to a quiet time together. And as soon as it is, here's the conversation that occurred. In Mark chapter 9, verses 28 to 29, and I'm reading from the New Living Translation, 2nd edition, said, "Afterward, when Jesus was alone in the house with his disciples, they asked him, 'Why couldn't we cast out that evil spirit?' Jesus replied, 'This kind can only be cast out by prayer.'" And many manuscripts and translations add, "and fasting." Can only be cast out by prayer and fasting. The disciples waited for a time of private conversation. For probably several hours, they carried out that sense of shame, fear, insufficiency, wondering what's wrong with us. What did we do wrong? What are we not understanding? And that sense of self-guilt and self-recrimination that is known too well by so many of us. Why couldn't we do it? What's wrong with us? And Jesus gave a very simple answer. He said, "This kind can only be cast out by prayer and fasting." Now Jesus didn't have a long prayer time, and Jesus didn't fast. He just kicked the demon out. But we're not Jesus, and we can't expect to have the same authority that he has. We only have the authority he gives us. He implied this kind. He said this kind can only be cast out. He implied it's a different kind of demon. And none of us understand the supernatural realms enough to understand what kind he's talking about here. It's just a mere illusion. This kind. There's more than we can perceive or understand about what's going on in the spiritual world. But the fact is, they failed. And Jesus did not condemn them for their failure. He just said this one's a little different. Sometimes we learn and grow more from failure than we do from success. This had to be a learning experience for the 9 to recognize again how much they needed Jesus, how much they did not know, how far they still had to go. And it's got to be a somewhat demoralizing kind of instant. But yet, they recognized and had reminded to them again and instructed before them in such a way they would never forget that Jesus is more powerful than we could ever imagine. And they're not going to forget that lesson. And that failure is going to help them remember that lesson. Sometimes we learn and grow more from failure than we do from success. Don't be afraid if you fail. Failure is a part of life, but use it as a learning and growing experience to better handle what comes down in the future. God bless you.